Hey, it's Pete from NicheSpin.com. In this video, we're going to go through the actual design layout of our Newsstand magazine app. So on the screen, what you can see is I've got three windows. I'll just explain what I'm going to do with them. This one probably needs no explanation. It's just Windows Explorer, just showing different files that belong to the app. I've got Google Chrome, which will allow me to view the web page that I'm building for the magazine. I'll call it the magazine shelf. And then we got the code editor, which is just a text editor called Notepad++. That's what I'm going to be using to do the coding. Now, I do understand that some people are not web developers. They don't know HTML. And you know what? I'm not a web developer either. I know very, very limited HTML, PHP, way above my head, all that stuff. So I'm just going to code what I know. There's probably people going to watch this thinking, oh my God, look at the code he's making. But you know what? It works, and that's all I'm bothered about. And once I've done this, if you want a copy of the files, just let me know, and I'll send you a zip file containing all the source code. So let's get cracking. If you watched the last video, we left it where we had this HTML file open, and I think I also showed a preview of what we were going for, the actual design. Let me see if I can open that back up. Here we go. So we're going to design this page. We're going to have a header at the top, latest magazine issue, a couple of buttons, and all the previous issues. So I'll move that to one side. So let's bring, let's make this a bit bigger. And what we're going to do is change this file so it represents the code we need to produce this design. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up the style sheet so we can have a look at how the background of the app is displayed on the screen. I'll drag the style sheet onto the editor, and you can see the default style sheet. Actually, it's not got the correct word wrapping and line breaks, that type of thing. I'm just going to tidy it up a little bit. There we go. So that's for the body. Then any anchor text, heading 1 and heading 2. Let me click save, just so we've got that. And it's a bit easier to read. Now, I did say I was going to use my own style sheet, and that is what we're going to do. But I just wanted to show you this one, because this is what determined the background of our iPad app. If you look here, in the body area, we have this background image, and it says bgrepeat.jpg. That was the background image we saw on the iPad on the Seattle Clouds website. So what we need to do is actually get rid of that or put our own background in. Now, I'm not going to do it in this CSS file. I'm going to create a new one and we can style that. So I'll just close this one again. And let's create a brand new file. Let's call this shelf.css, because what we're designing is really our magazine shelf. A bit like a bookshelf. Let's call it a magazine shelf. Back to index, and we'll start coding and producing the HTML that will give us this layout. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the title. No, I'm not. I've already done that. That's my mag 1. So let's go straight down here. Like I said, I'm not using the standard style sheet, so I'm going to change this to reference our shelf style sheet. Here's a close of the head. So then we're going to create our first section of the magazine. Let's create this header section. Okay, so we'll create a div. Let's give it an ID. Let's call it header 1. Would help if I could spell. And then inside that, let's just have a paragraph. This is the actual title for the magazine, so let's call it The Wonderful Magazine. Pretty basic. Don't forget, this is just a template, so you will put your normal magazine name in there, and then we can close off that div. Not much to that, is there? Let's do save. Come back to our browser and we'll do a refresh. Now we can see the header for our magazine. Doesn't look all that fantastic, does it? So how about we do some styling? So we'll go over to shelf. And what did we call it? We gave it an ID of header 1. So let's style header 1. Now later on we may want to change the header a little bit. So what I'm going to do is add a section in the style sheet that deals with the paragraph inside the header. So all I'm going to do is do header 1, and I'm going to say we're styling the paragraph. And then we'll have the font size, let's say 34, give it a line height. 38, so there's a bit of gap above and below. And I'll tell you what, I'll just pause the recording while I key the rest of this in, so you're not all bored, and then we'll quickly go over it. Here we go, so I've keyed in the styling for the header. Now I will say I've just done a bit of trial and error. These are the values I've come up with. So you can see, define the font size for magazine here. Let me bring this down. The line height, we're going to make it bold. We're going to use this font. We're going to center align it. Give it a certain color, that's white. We're going to give it a top padding, which means it's just going to come away from the topmost edge of the iPad by 15 pixels. Use a background, a red color, margin auto, so that helps us in actually positioning this header. Position absolute, left 0, and you can read the rest of it. So let's save that. We've got shelf CSS there, so when we do a refresh, there we go. So now we have this header section, all designed for the magazine. And we're previewing in Google Chrome, but we can use anything. Actually, you know what? Let's use Safari, because that'll give a better representation of what will appear on the iPad. But I'm saying that, and I'm recording on this machine that doesn't have Safari installed. So I'm going to stick with Chrome. So here's the iPad layout. You can see our magazine header. It stops here, which is 768 pixels across. And that is determined, well, it's actually 752, but with a bit of messing about, I know that that actually comes to the edge of the iPad. With the various padding and margins and things like that, that'll be 768 pixels. Now, let's move that down. The next thing we're going to do is have a look at producing the next thing underneath. So we've got this latest issue of the magazine next on the left hand side. So let's put that in. So we'll create a div. We'll call it latest issue 1. And we'll put some styling in here. Now, I've said before, I'm not a web developer. I just know a few things to get me by, and I know doing this stuff, what I'm going to show you now, does seem to position things nicely. Don't shoot me down in flames if you are a web developer and you think my coding is crap. So we're going to do absolute positioning. 10 pixels from the left. And we're going to position it say 50 pixels down. And give it a width of, let's see, about 350. Let's see, the width is 768, so 350, just less than halfway. Guess I really should have worked out the dimensions beforehand, but never mind. And height, we're going to make it, let's make it 500 pixels. We can change all this once we preview it. So then I'm going to use an image for this, because if you think about it, your magazine is going to be a nice picture, a nice front cover. So I'm going to create an image tag. And I think what I'm going to do is, for this layout, I'm going to do 3 rows of 2 magazines, just so that we can actually scroll off the page. Oops, as you can see, my drawing is not fantastic on the computer, but never mind. And then we'll have another view button there. Oh, look at that, looks awesome. So that'll give us 2, 4, 6, 7 magazines. And we want this to work in reverse order. So if that's the latest one, issue 7, this will be 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we're working with issue 7 here. So let's, and it's a bigger image than the others. So let's call this Big Issue 7. Now, if you're from the UK, you'll recognize Big Issue, and I'm not selling it. So, if not, forget that joke. Let's give it a width. What did we say here? Width 350. The same as the div. And then we'll say a height. What did we make it? 500. So that's the image tag. And then we'll close our div. Let's have a look. Now, of course, I haven't put the image in place yet. Oops. Make this a bit bigger. You can see we've got the layout there. I've obviously made some mistake. Let's have a look. Oh, close my div off right there. Save. Refresh. And I'll just do this with a Control A. Okay, there's no image to show, but if we look at the source, it's come through. We can see it's actually in the page. So what I need to do is create a Big Issue 7 image. So I'm just going to pause things now. I'll create the image and then I'll drag it in. Okay, I've created the image, so I'm going to paste it in here. I'll just show you it, and you're going to be amazed at my graphic creation, editing skills. Well, you will be if the image comes up. Oh, I hate this thing. I installed this application just to see what it was like. It keeps it's gone and registered all the image files to be associated with it. But anyway, you can see that's the image. That's the latest issue of the magazine. It looks absolutely awesome. I'm sure you'll agree. Save. No. So at least you get to see what it is. I'm going to change this. Good old paint. That's better. 1,000 times quicker. So that's what the first magazine image is going to look like. So we should be able to just do a refresh and see it pop in, but we don't. So let's have a look what we've got wrong. So I can't see anything too wrong. Let me, here we go. Click a save, just didn't close off the quotes there. Go back. There we go. So We can see the latest issue is appearing on the left. It's positioned a bit too high up, so we need to adjust that down. So let's go back and let's change this. So we have top 50. Let's chop it down 90. See what that looks like. That's better. So just highlight everything. We can see its placement. That's not too bad. Actually, it looks quite big. So if we're going to have some writing and buttons, I'm just thinking about how tall the iPad is. Let's reduce this down a little bit. Let's go to 300 width. Try keep it in proportion. 400. Okay. That's better. Yeah, that looks better. Let's carry on. So the next thing we're going to do is have a look at what we have here. We have some text. Now, I think what I wanted to do was actually have the text going along there like that. Oh my goodness, my drawing is fantastic. So what I think I was going to go for text going straight across, so we didn't have two columns. And this is going to be the latest issue text. Let's give it some, keep it easier to read. Latest issue TXT. And give it some style as well. Okay, well, I'll just do that for now. Close it off. And let's use like a heading because it's prominent text. Page 2. Now let's put something. This is some awesome text explaining all about the magazine. Oh my goodness. There we go. Close the H2 off, close the div. Save. Let's do a refresh. So I guess it's somewhere on this page. I've styled it, so again back to my position absolute. And what are we doing here? So we want it to appear just beyond halfway. So halfway would be, let's think, 700 is 350, 60, 70, 80. Tell you what, let's do this. Here we go. Halfway is 384. What did we make? We made the width of this 300, 310. So just beyond 310. So 384 is halfway. So if we do left, say 370. Then we need it to come down as well from the top, otherwise it'll appear right under the magazine header. Oh no, it won't. We're using absolute, so it'll appear straight at the top if we don't put. So let's do 90. Width. So we want a good width to work with. A bit more. Let's do 380. And then in this div, which is positioned, let's align the text center. No, let's keep it left. Let's do. Okay. Oops. Do a save. Let's see what happens. Nothing's appearing. Can we control? Let's have a look on the HTML. I think it's because the text is in. I know I was going to say why, but that isn't the case. Let's see, we do have this. Maybe we just need to style the H2. No, or maybe just because I got that closing tag wrong. Save it, refresh. No, not yet. As you can see, it's all trial and error with me. Let me think. There's got to be something. Oh, look at this. That's the problem. I closed the div. Let's see if that works. Yeah, there we go. So we got the text up there, but it's on the far left-hand side. Why didn't it go to the right? Because I said get 370 pixels from the left. It's because I missed that blooming thing out. There we go. We can see it's bumping up right against the edge of the magazine. So let's do this. Yeah, that's not too bad. Let's center. I was going to do that in the first place. Center that. Yeah, looks a bit more like a heading. Now, let's style this a little bit. Let's create a background. So I'm finding it hard to determine where the edge of this image is and where the text should start. So let's give a background to our magazine. Let me find the graphic file and we'll place that as the background. So here we go. I've found a background, so I'm going to paste it in. This is called bg_blank. Let me open this up and show you. Oops, wrong window. There we go. So we've got this background, nice grey, ash looking background. So we will use that, and it's bg_blank.png. So what we have to do is come over to our shelf.css, and I'll create some code to make this the background for the body tag of our little web page here. Okay, now with the magic of the pause button on the camera, I've gone ahead and created body code. Here we go. I've taken some bits and pieces from the standard CSS file. If I bring that in, you'll see that we've got these things here. Text align, left, direction, LTR, which I guess means left to right. So I've just brought them in. Look at that, I didn't put it on its own line. So I've just brought them in. I don't know what some of them do, but we've got them. So let's have a look at the background here. Press F5. There we go. So we've got this nice background being filled for our application. Our text is black, so we could do with making that some other color, but we can see the outline now. So let's jump back and change some of this this color, shall we? Oops, wrong one. This is a heading to, look at this. So let's style this H2. So we'll come back here. Hopefully this isn't going to take too long. So we'll do H2, and then we'll do a color. A few colors I do remember is white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Save that. 5. There we go. Nice white color. And we could make it a bit bigger maybe because it's a H2. So let's have a look what we've got. And let's make it a decent font. Let's bring this down. And let's bring these down. So we'll use this font, but let's change this to a... I'll just show you first. If we left it as 34, I think it'll be a bit too big because it was the same as this stuff. Yeah, let's bring it down. 18, and we'll say 22. F5. There we go. Maybe we'll increase it in size a bit later on, but that'll do for now. So it's starting to come together. We've got the text. Now, you've seen more or less what I'm going to do. So I'm going to speed things up. I'm going to pause the video, create the code for the rest of this section. I'll include some buttons. Then I'll create the rest of it here, and then we can view it on the iPad. So I'll just pause and come back with some finished code. Okay, I've got a bit of code, so I'm going to paste it in here and just explain it. We have these two buttons, so I've defined some more divs, a subscription button, and then a view issue button. And we've got some various styling bits and pieces up here. And we've got subscription button 4.png and view button 1. I'm going to copy those in. So let me bring up the correct folder. Here we go. Paste in those two graphic files. I'll show you what they look like. There's a view button. And there's a subscribe button. Pretty basic, aren't they? But they're good for positioning. So we've got them there. We'll save the code. Press refresh. Now you can see we've got our two buttons. So it's starting to come together. Now I'll bring some more code in. We'll have a horizontal line. Then I'll bring the code in. Oops, better undo this. But for that section there. Okay, by the magic of time shift, once again, I've generated some code. And this is what we've got. I've included this horizontal line. And give it an idea of HR1 so we can maybe style it later on if we want to. Then I've created a div, and what I thought was, because these are going to be in like a table format, we might as well create a table. So I created a div, and then I've created a table inside the div. So we're going to position 10 pixels from the left to begin with. It's going to be 540 pixels from the top with a width of 748. Table is going to fill the complete div. We have an ID of back issues, and I'll show you the styling for that. And then you can see this is where we're going to point to our first magazine. I've just put a placeholder. There's nothing there. So amag.html doesn't exist. But we're then using issue6.jpg, which is going to be our 6th issue of the magazine. This will be the 5th, then 4th, and 3rd, and so on. Give it a title of item 1. There we've got the width, and we've got the height, and then that closes this area. This is closing TD cell. And then the next cell here, we've got some comments, where we can have a bit of text. And then we've got the button underneath, which can link to the magazine as well. And this button is View BTN1. So let me copy those into place. And while I was creating these buttons and these magazines, I created some duplicates as well. So we've got all these issues 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I'll do those at the same time. So I'll just move them in. There we go. And just to show you, that's as good as the magazine preview gets. Okay, let me save that. Now I still need to add the style sheet information, so it should look a bit messed up. But you can see here, issue 6, some text, and then we've got the view button. starting to come together. So let's shift over and bring some style sheet information. I've gone and created the style sheet as well, so all the rest of it. So I'm just going to copy and paste over the whole thing. So I'll just show you what I did. So I used this coffee cup HTML editor, but you can see we've got the background. I took out the color for anchor text and the visited. I created a H1, a H2, a paragraph, header P1 as before, and then we got this space underline as well. You'll see all that actually put in place. If I save, oops, already saved. So if I F5, there you can see we've got a bit more styling now. So we've got some rounded buttons, we've got the text for the issue, and I think some of the padding, some of the cell padding changed, so it just moved the issue over to the left. Now you might think the layout's a bit messed up here, but if we go back to the code, you can see our table is defined as 100%, so it's actually centering what we have here. So as soon as we add in the next table row, which I will bring in right now, there we go. It should go in right here, a brand new cell. Let's just push that in. Click save, refresh, and there you can see issue there and then issue there. So we're starting to get the layout pretty good. Now I have created the rest of them, so issue 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I'll bring those in as well. Get the indentations correct. I feel as though I've messed something up here. Give me 1 second. Let me do all this section. That's better. Save. Come back. F5. There we go. So if you can imagine our iPad is like this. Our latest issue, subscribe, view, and all the previous issues that you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. With view buttons, it'll take you to the specific issue of the magazine. Now, if I click one of these, it won't work. We've got nothing behind this AMAG. But that is basically good enough for us to upload, and we can see it in the Seattle Clouds web service. So let's do that. Let me minimize. Let's get rid of this code. Actually, I didn't need to minimize that browser. There we go, it's back up. Let's go to Seattle Clouds again. Go to My Applications. Here's our fantastic magazine. And there's one thing I've just remembered. You can change the background without doing the code. What you can do, I think it's in Design Properties. Yeah, here we go. Design Properties, we have this bg repeat.jpg. So this is where you actually define the background if you don't want to use code. And you can see we can edit the style sheet itself, the style.css. And that's where the bg repeat is. But let's not worry about that, just a little pointer. So we'll go here, we'll go to Resource Manager, and let's upload the files that we've created. Now before, I think I downloaded the whole package. This time, I'll just upload the individual files. I could create a zip file, upload it, and it would overwrite everything here, but we don't have that many files. Okay, so I'll select the files. Here we go. I'll sort it by date so we can see when we, no, well, by alphabetical. Got the background. What did I create? I did the index. That's what we've updated. All these issues. The shelf style sheet. Subscription button. And then the view button. So you can see you can select all the files at once. And then Seattle Clouds will begin to upload each file individually. That's it, we're done. So then you can see all your files in this resource manager. We'll click done. I'll just do a refresh. Then, as if by magic, there we have our magazine layout. Let me make it as big as we can get, and then I'll zoom out. So that's supposed to be a representation of how it will look on the iPad. Now we have this missing here, so I guess I just missed out one file. Zoom back in. So upload, and we'll choose, where was it? Big Issue 7. That's the one. Let's do a refresh, 5. There's our Big Issue 7. So it's looking good. It's looking good. We have the makings of a Newsstand app. So what I'll do now, I'll pause the video and just get my machine set up so that you can see my iPad actually viewing this magazine on the Seattle Clouds application previewer. I've had to swap over to using my Mac to record the iPad screen. So what you can see now on the iPad is really just my home screen. I'm going to go to the App Store and download the Seattle Clouds app previewer. So I'll click App Store, lovely front screen, and we'll do a search. You can see I've got the text in there already. That's the one we want, Seattle Clouds. I'll click Install. Hopefully it should be a pretty fast install. There we go, that was pretty painless. So now I'll just open the app. And the first thing that happens when you open it is the application will ask you to log in with your username and password that you use to sign up to Seattle Clouds. So I'll do that. And on login, it goes away, finds out what apps you've built, and downloads them to the iPad. And you can see here we've just got that one app that we've built so far. And all I'm going to do is click on it. And when I click on it, the iPad will then synchronize all the files that make up our app and download them to the iPad itself. So you should see that happening. Here we go, sync in progress. There's not many files, so it's quite quick. And then, as if by magic, we have our magazine, and that's how it looks on the iPad. Pretty neat. So we got the buttons, we got the issues, and if I scroll up and down on the iPad, you should see the bottom issues coming up. There we go. So we've just got enough issues in place there to show that we can scroll up and down on the iPad, get everything in view. And you can imagine that a user would then click the view button to actually look at an issue of the magazine, and hopefully they'll click the subscribe button so that they subscribe to the magazine, and it will automatically be downloaded as soon as we send a push notification to say there's a new issue available. Now that's about it. That's all we need to look at. It gives us a great base to go ahead and build the rest of the app. And all we're going to do to begin with is generate some PDF documents that will be linked to by the buttons on the screen that you see here, the view buttons, and then the user will be able to read the PDF document. I don't want to go any further with this video because it's already taking way too long, and I really hope you've enjoyed it and it's given you a good lead in to building a Newsstand app. I'd love to know what you think, so please leave a comment on the blog post below this video. And if you've got any tips and tricks for me, please let me know. So very soon I'll create another post where we do the next stage of building this Newsstand app, where we link the PDFs to the buttons. So watch out for that. That'll be coming in a new post in probably a few days' time. Until then, Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.